Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Syriana Analysis. I'm your host, Almassian. Thank you very much for tuning in to Syriana Analysis from all around the world. I can see that there are tens of people watching this live stream. If you're watching from anywhere, guys, if you want to help this live stream, you can just click on the like button so that other people can also see, because this is how YouTube algorithm works. YouTube starts recommending this video to other people, and also for the subscribers who cannot see the live stream, this live stream will appear on their timeline when you click on the like. That is a great help for me. Thank you very much if you do that at the beginning of this show. One of the main questions that everybody wants to know the answer for is, has Iran known about the attacks on the 7th of October? Has Syria known about the attack on the 7th of October? Has Hezbollah known about the attack on the 7th of October? And three of these countries denied their knowledge officially in the first few weeks. Now it's been almost more than 2.5 months. They all rejected the notion that they knew and they were aware about this operation. The Secretary General of Hezbollah said that he wasn't aware of it. He's in support of this operation. But Hamas and Jihad, they managed this operation themselves, and it was very secret, and even the allies didn't know. My sources in Syria say they didn't know about it, and Iran was the same. However, recently, one of the main players, let's say, in the region within the Iranian Islamic State is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, if I am not mistaken. They're a major player in the region. One of the main missions of this Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps is to help what they call the resistance groups in Syria, in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Iraq, basically also in Yemen. Basically, it's the arm of Iran, on the intelligence and military arm of Iran in the region, and they are supporting different state and non-state actors in order to first gain leverage, just like any other country that try to expand in the region in terms of their influence and leverage, and two, to help their allies against their mutual enemy, and in this case is in Israel, right? Now, there is a new statement coming from a spokesperson of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And this has come only yesterday, which was shocking for many people to hear what he said. Basically, he says Iran's IRGC says October 7 attacks on Israel were revenge for Soleimani. However, Hamas denies. For those of you guys who don't know, Soleimani was the head of Al-Quds Revolutionary Guard in Iran, and he was assassinated by the United States in Iraq. He was in charge of the Iranian foreign military presence and also supporting the state and non-state actors in the region, including in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon. And he was part of the military campaign against ISIS, both in Iraq and also in Syria as well. I remember him, he was also present himself physically in Aleppo, and he participated in the liberation of Aleppo from ISIS, al-Nusra, and other terrorist groups. And he was assassinated later by the United States by drone attack in Iraq, which is, of course, condemned because he was a government official. And Iran retaliated by bombing some of the bases of the American bases in Iraq, and they said their revenge is not going to stop here. And now, one of the spokespersons of the IRGC says that the attack on the October 7 was a revenge for Soleimani. So, what's the detail of this? He says the spokesman for Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, said on Wednesday that Hamas October 7 attacks against Israel were in retaliation for the killing of former Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani, a claim that was quickly denied by the Palestinian group. So, this is an allegation, a claim from the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. Hamas denies it. Hamas says Al-Aqsa flood was one of the this is the Iranian spokesperson says the Al-Aqsa flood was one of the acts of revenge for the assassination of General Soleimani by the US and the Zionists. Iran's ISNA news agency quoted the IRGC spokesman Ramazan Sharif as telling reporters using the name Hamas has dubbed its October 7 attacks on Israel. Certainly, these acts of revenge will continue in different times and places, Sharif said. However, Hamas here swiftly denied Sharif's comments, saying all of its actions are in response to the presence of the occupation and its continued aggression against our people and our sanctities. Sharif's comments came ahead of the fourth anniversary of Soleimani's death. He was killed in a U.S. airstrike in Iraq in January 2020. Soleimani, who for over 2 decades headed the Quds Force, the foreign operations arm of the IRGC, was widely regarded as the most powerful figure in the Islamic Republic after Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Tehran has consistently pledged to avenge his death. So, this is, in my opinion, a very interesting thing to focus on today. And later, I'm coming to you guys about the title of this video: Has Israel lost this war in the Gaza Strip? This is now Hamas is coming and saying that the claim of the Iranian side, according to Hamas, is false, and they insist that this attack on the October 7 was a response to Israel's aggression against our people. This is the statement of the Hamas side. Now, you know me very well, guys. In this case, I'm really trying to be as objective as I can. This is a new statement, again, by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard spokesman. He said, "My statement about the motives of the Al-Aqsa flood were misunderstood, and I didn't state that the motive of the operation was revenge for the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani. I stated today that one of the results of Operation Flood was retaliation for the assassination of General Soleimani." Now, I will be very honest with you, right? This is how we are used on this channel. Iran's intervention in Iraq and Iran's intervention in Syria, Iran's intervention in Lebanon, Iran's intervention in Yemen, it's present. Like, they have presence, they have influence, they have leverage, and they invested in state and non-state actors to expand their influence in the region. Whether that's a positive thing or a negative thing, that's something else. To think that Iran, as a regional power, won't try to expand its influence in the region is a naive thing to think about, right? All countries, all nations, all empires, every politician aspired to expand its influence. Syria, when it was strong, they expanded their influence to Lebanon, right? And through the gate of the Lebanese civil war, they sent Syrian army forces to Lebanon, and they stayed there till 2005. Any country that has a little bit of, a power to expand, they will project it in the neighborhood. And this is the history of humanity from day one. Therefore, I'm not going here and come and say, no, there is no interference of Iran in the region, and they're not trying to do this and that. No, of course they are. Whether that's positive or negative, that's up for discussion, right? However, since, like, let's say 1 decade ago, Iran helped Iraq, helped the Kurds in Iraq, helped the Yazidis in Iraq, helped the Syrians with different factions in Syria against ISIS, against Al Qaeda. This is undeniable, right? Who can deny this? When ISIS was advancing to Erbil and they were knocking the doors of Erbil in Kurdistan, Iraq, it was the Iranians who came for help, right? Not the Americans, not any of the European governments or armies. And when Syria was attacked by similar forces like ISIS, al-Nusra, Jaish al-Islam, Tahrir al-Sham, and all these different names and shades of al-Qaeda forces, it is Iran who came to help Syria, right? They sent their advisors. Hezbollah came to Syria, and they helped Syria politically, financially, militarily to overcome this crisis. Now, when you help someone as a political force, I mean, later you will also harvest the fruits, right? It's not like they are doing this as a service. Nobody does service to you for nothing, in exchange for nothing in politics. That doesn't exist. Now, the problem with the Iranian side is some of the generals in Iran, they have big mouths. And I experienced that personally in Syria as well. In Syria, for example, you see some of the generals in Iran, they have big mouths, and they come and they say, Were it not for us, Damascus would have fallen for ISIS, right? I have heard that multiple times from Iranian generals in the media. They're giving this statement. In Syria, they don't respond to such statements. They don't come and say, no, that's untrue, or they just ignore it. That's not their style to come and counter it. It's their ally. Okay, if you think that you came to Syria and because of you we were steadfast now in Syria, okay, think however you want. In Iraq they do the same thing. They said, were it not for us, the Kurdistan of Iraq would have fallen in the hands of ISIS. Is it like there is an element of truth in it that they helped the resistance against ISIS, right? But whether their intervention was the detrimental thing or not, that's up for a debate. Nobody knows that. But now, since this October 7 attack happened, some of these big mouth generals in the Iranian army, they will come and say, oh, we helped them. It was our operation. We wanted to take revenge for Qasem Soleimani and all this stuff, right? And it seems now that they are themselves denying these allegations. And if you ask for my opinion, I don't think Iran had any role in the October 7 Hamas attack on the kibbutzes in Israel. I don't think so. I think this was planned by Hamas, military and intelligence officers. I think that the secrecy that was circulating around it was the most important thing that happened for this operation to succeed from the side of Hamas. Iran is watched, surveilled. Syria is surveilled. Hezbollah is surveilled. The possibility that such an information would be leaked is high if there is a coordination. So I don't think it was coordinated. I think that Damascus didn't know about it. I think Tehran didn't know about it. And I think Hezbollah didn't know about it. This is just my opinion, guys. I'm being very honest with you. Now, since we're speaking about the IRGC, Iran, this week, they had an officer, a senior officer in Damascus, right? And everybody knows that Iran has military advisors in Syria. And this week, on the 25th of December, Israel bombed Damascus near Sayyidah Zainab, and they murdered and killed, assassinated, let's say, one of the high-ranking Iranian generals. And so this is the news. An Israeli airstrike in Damascus neighborhood on Monday killed a high-ranking Iranian general, Iranian state media has said. Iranian officials and allied militant groups in the region vowed revenge for the killing, but didn't immediately launch any retaliatory strike. The killing of Sayyid Razi Mousavi, a longtime advisor of the Iranian paramilitary Revolutionary Guard in Syria, comes amid ongoing fears of the Israel-Hamas war sparking a regional spillover. Iran-backed groups in Yemen, Lebanon, Syria, and Iraq have launched attacks on Israel and its allies in support of Hamas. Clashes along Lebanon-Israel border between Hezbollah and Israel have continued to intensify with daily exchanges of missiles, airstrikes, and shelling across the frontier. In the Red Sea, attacks by Houthi rebels in Yemen against ships they believe to be connected to Israel have disturbed trade and prompted the launch of a US-led multinational naval operation to protect shipping routes. Iran-backed militias in Iraq operating under an umbrella group dubbed the Islamic Resistance in Iraq have also launched more than 100 attacks on bases housing US troops in Iraq and Syria, which they have said are in retaliation for Washington's support for Israel. Now, since this assassination happened in Syria, right, people will ask what this Iranian Revolutionary Guard officer is doing in Syria. First of all, Syria invited Iran. So their presence, if we want to speak about the Syrian constitution, it's legal, and under international law, it's illegal. But what are they doing in Syria? They have different tasks in Syria, some of which is advisory, to the Syrian leadership in terms of the security and military operations against the terrorist groups, and some of which is about the joint, let's say, coordination or joint actions against Israel and the United States. Just a second, I have to drink water. Excuse me. So the coordination against the mutual enemies, right? Some people say What's the role of Syria in this? Why Syria isn't bombing or doing this and that, retaliating against attacks of Israel? Syria doesn't operate that way. Now, I'm not finding justifications. I'm not saying I'm endorsing violence or endorsing any sort of retaliation against Israel, this and that. I'm just explaining here what is the role of Syria. Syria represents a geographical route and the transition of course, weapons to resistance groups in Palestine or in militant groups in Palestine and in Lebanon. Most of the weapons coming to Hezbollah coming through Syria. That's why Israel tries to bomb the cargoes here and there. Secondly, these advisors are meeting with also senior, let's say, intelligence and security personnel from Hezbollah, from Hamas, from Jihad on Syrian territories, coordinating. So Syria is a hub between coordination, sending weapons, without direct intervention in this conflict. Some people would say that's not enough, but this is what Syria sees, that this is the limit of what they can present at the moment, knowing that the circumstances in Syria is very dire economically, and there are so many still terrorists active in the north, in Idlib, and the east is out of the control of the Syrian government. So, when General Secretary of Hezbollah Nasrallah gave us his first speech about the October 7 attacks, he said Syria's role is appreciated, and this is we're not asking for more from Syria. Now, will Syria do more? That's up for discussion in Syria. We don't know what's going to happen because it seems that every day there is a new type of escalation, and it's always tit for tat in this conflict. But I don't think Syria has an interest to go into direct confrontation with Israel, open a big front, and open a regional war. It seems that it's Israel who has that. But since Israel assassinated an Iranian officer on Syrian territories, and this is not the first time, right? There are other incidents as well. This is the question that I raised. If Israel is allowed to assassinate Iranian military generals in Syria because they pose a threat to Israel, does it mean Iran is allowed to bomb its neighboring countries to assassinate active intelligence and military officers because they pose a threat to Iran? That's a legitimate question, right? The point is, I said, if Iran initiates a similar attack against an Israeli military or intelligence officer, let's say in Azerbaijan, wouldn't that be considered an act of war and a violation of international law? I mean, you know the answer for it. I'm raising just a rhetorical question. Everybody knows it's an act of war. Everybody knows it's a violation of international law. But for Israel, it seems there are exceptions all the time, right? it's like Israel, international law doesn't apply over Israel in so many occasions. Exceptions always happening because the United States is protecting Israel. And if there is a rules-based order, there is international community, there is international law, now everybody should condemn that Israel has attacked Syria. But nobody does that because they call Syria a regime. So here you're attacking a regime, this is just an illegitimate thing. It's not considered part of the civilized world anyway. It's not considered part of the international community anyway. But if Iran now retaliates, let's say bombs Azerbaijan and kills, because in Azerbaijan you have many active Mossad agents working against Iran, coordinating against Iran. What if now, of course, Iran will not do that, but what if, I'm saying, Iran bombs now Azerbaijan and kills a Mossad agent? Will that be considered an act of war? Yes. Will that be considered a violation of international law? Yes. But when it comes to Israel, it's not considered the same thing, right? Just showing you the double standards and hypocrisy in this regard. And speaking of double standards and hypocrisy, there is something beyond that. And on this channel, you know my position. I know my analysis. If you're following my live streamings, the goal is to kick out the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Sinai, right? And this is coming from the Jerusalem Post, one of the mouthpieces of the Israeli government. And this is an opinion article. They say, why moving to the Sinai Peninsula is the solution for Gaza's Palestinians. And the way this author writes about it, like he's giving a service to the Palestinians, right? He's just a good-hearted people He's just a good-hearted person, and he just cares about the Palestinians, and he's just trying to find the best place for the Palestinians finally to witness peace and prosperity, right? This is so beyond parody, man. Anyways, the adjoining Sinai Peninsula, he says, in essence, is the exact opposite of the Gaza Strip, comprising one of the most suitable places on earth to provide the people of Gaza with hope and a peaceful future. Covering 60,000 square kilometers, its population is barely around one third of Gaza's, making it one of the emptiest places in the Mediterranean region. The geographic setting of the Mediterranean coast of northern Sinai is also a physical continuation of the Gaza Strip with ample, shallow groundwater in the northeast. In the northwestern Sinai, Egypt has invested immensely in building for agriculture, including freshwater canals. Furthermore, Egypt has surprisingly wired Sinai with excellent infrastructure, overshooting its civilians and industrial needs. This includes an array of paved roads and highway connected by tunnels beneath the Suez Canal to mainland Egypt. The fact demonstrates that the northern Sinai Peninsula is an ideal location to develop a spacious resettlement for the people of Gaza. Resettlement, guys. It's just a resettlement, not ethnic cleansing, not forcefully kicking them out of their territory and land. It's not an occupation, it's just a resettlement. They're resettling in a kind way with roses, and they're giving them very soft beds and sending them with, helicopters from Gaza to the Sinai to resettle them. He says its open areas, along with the existing infrastructure, can easily host large scale development projects that, if led by the Chinese and supported by local labor, for example, can easily mature in just 1 to 2 years. Oh man. Firm American and international guidance lined with financial and operative support can surely pave the way to this creative and prosperous solution and jointly help Egypt's dire demographic and economic situation that is challenging its political authority. Here is the funniest thing, guys. They're telling the Egyptians that this is a carrot. We're giving you a carrot, brother. Like this is for your sake. This is in your favor. Look, if Egypt bravely chooses to change its rigid, old-fashioned policy of keeping Palestinian Gazans in constant distress and consents to such an end-over, its geopolitical gains will be threefold. Look at the geopolitical gains that Egypt will get, guys. It will be hailed by the international community, aka the United States, as the savior of the dire plight of Gazans. It will strengthen its status as a leader of the Arab world, and it will finally fulfill its 30-year-old plan to settle the Sinai and strengthen its control of this zone. It's just bullshit. Three of these things mentioned here is bullshit. First of all, the international community will not hail Egypt because international community he means here just the United States and Israel. Two, it will not strengthen Egypt's role in the region as a leader of the Arab world because it will show to the Arab world that Egypt has bowed to Israel and to the United States and accepted the refugees from the Gaza, 2 million people. It will show exactly the opposite. It will send exactly opposite signal to the Arab world that Egypt has bought. And finally, they will finally, their 30 plus year old plan to settle the Sinai and strengthen its control of this zone will be fulfilled. I truly do not understand how can these people write such an article with a straight face, like they think we're stupid, and no mention about the Palestinians' right to stay in their homes, in their farms, in their shores, in their birthplace, the Palestinian right for self-determination. They want to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, period, in any way. They're so desperate about it, and they're trying so hard to just sell it as a humanitarian project, It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. I don't want to use other words right now. I will be accused of other things later, so I have to be careful about it. But this is complete bullshit. And there are people helping Israel in this regard. And this is from a German media. This guy is a left wing politician. And he is part of the Die Linke political party, which calls itself an anti-imperialist party. And he is criticizing the German government for inaction. But I will show you how he is helping Israel here. Like, it's either so fucking ignorance or it's complicity. I don't know which one. So the left-wing member of the Bundestag, so the federal government or the federal parliament, John Corte, has sharply criticized the federal government for its uncritical attitude towards Egypt in the border conflict with Gaza. He says, quote, "In no other conflict in the world would be the violation of the Geneva Refugee Convention to prevent civilians from fleeing to safe areas be accepted." The background is the answer to a written query from Corte to the Foreign Office, which the Frankfurter Rundschau has received. Corte has asked the Foreign Office how Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock was committed to ensuring that the civilian population from Gaza can find refuge in Egypt. It's just the same. Like, he's calling for the same thing of Israel, but under humanitarian titles. In its response, the Foreign Office simply stated that it was committed to more effective protection of the civilian population in Gaza and had increased its own humanitarian aid from 130 million to up to 203 million euros. Regarding the border situation, State Secretary Thomas Bagger announced that they are in close constructive exchange with Egypt and that Egypt categorically rejects accepting refugees. That's not enough for the left-wing member of parliament. Foreign Minister Baerbock apparently understands that Egypt doesn't even allow women and children to escape to safe areas for strategic reasons, he said. He called on the government to organize the reception of refugees from the Gaza Strip together with the United Nations, the EU, and neighboring Arab states. That's better than standing on the sidelines, commenting one-sidedly. Look, if this guy called for a ceasefire, and the right of the Palestinians for self-determination and the right of the Palestinians for statehood, and then said we have to accept refugees, I would have excused him. But neglecting all these things, important things, and only focusing on taking refugees from the Gaza Strip to Egypt or bringing them to Europe, he's helping Israel. Of course, the Palestinians have the right for a refuge, safe haven in Egypt, in Sinai, and elsewhere. But also, we know the project of Israel. They are saying what they want to do. If they come to Sinai, they will not let them go back to Gaza and to Palestine. And they will ask the European countries to take them. So they're helping Israel, whether with ignorance or with complicity. In both cases, they're helping Israel. If you speak about the refugee cases without addressing the root causes of the refugee crisis, you're helping the people who are creating refugees. All these left-wing parties in Europe, or liberal parties or left-wing parties, they don't want to speak about the root causes of the refugee crisis. I don't understand that. When I came to Germany and I said, hey, why don't we speak about the root causes of the refugee crisis? Is it not the war in Syria? How about we don't create refugees? Oh, you're a right-wing fascist. You know? You don't understand their logic. And the right-wing people, it's no better than them, you know? And it's like, we don't want refugees from the Gaza Strip. Then ask for a ceasefire in Gaza. Ask for a ceasefire. Ask for ending the hostilities. Ask for two-state solutions. Or ask for one-state solutions for equal rights for everyone. Ask for peace if you don't want to receive refugees. But they don't want to speak about that. And they're just exchanging the roles of how to take more refugees from the Gaza Strip or from Palestine and just empty entire Palestine from the Palestinians so that Israel can have the upper hand. This is what they're doing, whether knowingly or not. Oh, I was watching, let's see how many minutes I still have. I still have 25 minutes. Good. I was reading this tweet today. I wanted to share with you. I think it's good written in a well manner. He says, to Israel, you can't say never again while committing a literal genocide. You can't bring up the Holocaust while detaining Palestinians, including children, in concentration camps. You can't say you are the victim while you are bombing every hospital, bakery, journalist, and child in sight. You can't say self-defense while your kids are writing their names on rockets, being blasted towards other kids whom you turn into orphans. You can't say you're protecting anyone while killing them. I wanted to show you this tweet also because of this mainly. this victim mentality is hilarious, to be honest with you, and there is something serious about it, right? I was watching this video the other day. I'm going to show you this victim mentality. This is coming from a guy who says he is the most famous rabbi in the United States. He's an arch Zionist, and I think you know him, Rabbi Shmuley. He was on several mainstream media outlets defending Israel. I mean, it's his right to defend Israel, but in this video, it's so shocking to me. How can he even post this? Look what he says. I was skating in Midtown Manhattan, New York City, when an anti-Semitic, Israel-hating, pro-Hamas thug came over to me on the ice and screamed, "Free Palestine," endangering me. The guy is endangering me as I was on the ice and would not leave me alone. He said, "Your name is Rabbi Shuli, and you can't expect to simply go around New York and get away with what you are doing to support genocide and apartheid. Watch and see what's happening to Jews all around the world, around the United States in general, and New York City in particular." Guys, I will show you this video first, and you will see by yourself if he's really the victim here or he's the guy who is actually harassing this little boy.
You're telling me free Palestine? Yeah. On the ice? On the ice. Really? That's the only thing you can think of? Harassing me on the ice?
And Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
You came over to me
Happy
and said free Palestine on the ice? What's your name?
Yeah. You don't even know my name.
Why? What are you afraid of?
I'm not afraid of
It's going to be everywhere anyway.
Good.
You came over to me on the ice in Bryant Park and harassed me with free Palestine.
I said free Palestine. And I gave you a fist bump. And you didn't want to. Now you're recording me.
You are saying free Palestine knowing that it's an anti-Semitic slur to destroy Israel.
Not at all.
So you don't want to destroy Israel.
No, why would I want to destroy people?
So what do you want?
Free Palestine.
What about from what?
Liberation of people.
You mean from Hamas, who are the terrorists?
I want to liberate people.
So you're
I want
okay.
the freedom of people.
With terrorists.
I want the end to a genocide.
Okay.
I want the end to
He's harassing you. He's harassing you.
Put the phone away.
Guys, this is really hilarious. I haven't seen something like this for quite some time. Somebody's playing victim when he is harassing the guy. Like, so a young boy endangered a grown-up man by telling him politely, he was really polite, "Free Palestine, Merry Christmas, and Happy Hanukkah." He said three things, right? And if you watch the video to the end, the security intervenes and tells this Shmuley to stop filming the boy, if you realize that. So this is the victim mentality that they are really like they do it all the time, you know. And he says this is a good comment in my opinion. Desperation. He will take any event and try and twist it for his own purposes. The truth is not on his side, so he has to resort to antics like this. Shmuley and others continue to expose themselves as they try to provide cover for the brutality in the Gaza Strip. He's correct in this. There was another playing the victim card and pushing the anti-Semitism line. It's all they have got left now that the entire world sees the brutality. I think, like, this video was too painful to watch and funny at the same time. Like, literally, he's skiing next to the guy and recording him, harassing him, and saying that he's the victim. And he accused the guy of being an anti-Semite. He accused the guy of being an anti-Jew. He accused him of endorsing genocide against the Jewish people. And the guy literally said, "Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, and Free Palestine." And he was very, I mean, he was really, really polite, right? He didn't like try to endanger him, right? Anyways, I wanted to show you this video. It's hilarious. But there are people who are speaking like, of course, I'm showing you from the Jewish people. They are speaking righteous things, and they're telling the truth the way it is. This is the Jewish Canadian actor Daniel Levy. He is asked if Palestinians should have the right of return, which means they're Palestinians who became refugees since 1948, right? So do they have the right to come back? Because now we're speaking about creating more refugees, right? 2.2 million refugees to the Sinai. This is the discussion is about. So what does he say about this? It's really, really good. It's hilarious. Let's see.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you believe that Palestinians have a right to return? Do you believe that I, as a Palestinian, whose father is from Haifa, left in 1948, was kicked out during the Nakba, does he have a right to return? And do I, you, Daniel Levy?
I do not think that as someone who never came from that part of the world, my family escaped, one on my mother's side escaped the Holocaust, my father's side from Eastern Europe. How can I possibly have the right to go and live there if someone indigenous to that land whose family was driven from there does not have that right?
So that's a yes.
I think you could say that.
I really want to watch this video again. It's really, really good.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you believe that Palestinians have a right to return? Do you believe that I, as a Palestinian whose father is from Haifa, left in 1948, was kicked out during the Nakba, does he have a right to return? And do I, you, Daniel Levy?
I do not think that as someone who never came from that part of the world, my family escaped, one on my mother's side escaped the Holocaust, my father's side from Eastern Europe. How can I possibly have the right to go and live there if someone indigenous to that land whose family was driven from there does not have that right?
So that's a yes.
I think you could say that.
Guys, I would say something like it is really not difficult to create peace in Palestine between the Jewish people, Muslim people, and the Christian people. People like him. I can sit with this guy and have a tea, and we can speak about politics, and we can speak about peace in the Middle East, right? Those are the type of people you can make peace with. Of course, there are also radical people in Palestine. Like I'm not living in illusion, right? But this type of people, like his name is David, right? David Levy, if I'm not mistaken. Some of you guys were mentioning him. Anyways, he's a great guy. So the problem is not anti-Semitism. Like the people are not born or indoctrinated to hate the Jewish people. Daniel Levy, thank you, Rabolisk. They hate the occupation, and they hate that they cannot go back to their homes, right? Whoever is the occupier here, and people like Daniel Levy, these are the type of people you can give them your hand and shake hands and make peace in Palestine and make everybody in Palestine, regardless of their religion, live and coexist together. Those are the type of people, and their voices must be heard. So I'm showing you this type of people, and I'm showing you this type of people, just to show you that there are good people and bad people, and there are good apples and bad apples in every community. So my criticism for Israel is because people like this Shuli, whatever he is, they're loud, and there are many of them on social media. They give the impression that they are the majority, but probably they're not. There are other voices, and there are so many people who are silent. I don't have the statistics right now, but I encourage peace with such people, right? I want them. If a person like him comes and wants to live in Palestine like an equal citizen, like Daniel Levy, where's the problem in that, right? In the contrary. But I have a problem with people who want to come to Palestine or to Syria and take the land and kick me out. Like, I'm Syrian and I cannot go to the Syrian occupied Golan Heights and swim in the lake there because it's occupied by Israel. I'm Syrian, I have a Syrian passport, I cannot go to Palestine, to Bethlehem, to the birthplace of Jesus Christ, whereas I'm a Christian from Syria because the Israeli occupation forces, they're not going to allow me in, right? They occupy it. I'm not allowed to go to Jerusalem. I'm not allowed to go there. Yeah, so that's what I condemn. Occupation, not the religion of the people. I don't care what religion you are. If the occupiers were Hindu, were atheists, or anything, I don't care your religion. I'm just criticizing the policy here. One of the people who is trying to jump the wagon, of course, every time there is a problem in Palestine, there is this guy on the right side, the biggest businessman of the Palestinian conflict and the Palestinian cause is, in my opinion, this guy on the right. And he compared Netanyahu to Hitler. And like, if he is genuine, about his statements and he's comparing Netanyahu to Hitler, then why is he doing business, trade, sending gas, fuel, water to Israel, to the forces of Israel, for example? Is he dealing with Hitler? Why is he doing that? If he's genuine, right? Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claps back at Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan for claiming Israel's actions against Hamas terrorists in Gaza are no different from those of Nazi German leader Adolf Hitler. Erdogan, who is carrying out a genocide of Kurds and holds a world record number of journalists opposed to his rule in jail, is the last to preach morality to us, Netanyahu says. It's like, for me, when I see these two are fighting with each other, it feels like it's a cat fight, you know? Like both of them are worse than each other. And then here Netanyahu claims that Israeli army is the most moral army in the world or something like that. I mean, Erdogan is very good in using this case to gain votes, to gain respect in the Arab world among the Palestinians. I would say this with the pain in the chest, right? Erdogan has a lot of support in probably in Gaza. And in Gaza, you will see many people, especially those who are pro-Hamas, they want Assad gone, although weapons came from Syria to Hamas. Expertise came from Syria to Hamas in the past, coordination and everything, but they hate Assad. But at the same time, they like Erdogan because Erdogan is a talker. He just tells the things that the people probably in Gaza or in Hamas won't like to hear, right? It's very unfortunate that Erdogan has all this support in the Arab world. He's the biggest hypocrite. He just helped Azerbaijan ethnically cleanse 120,000 Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh, Artsakh, and forcibly take them to Armenia proper. Those people were living there for centuries, and whether that region belongs to Azerbaijan or Armenia, that was up for negotiations and the self-determination of the people. But Turkey helped Azerbaijan to ethnically cleanse them, 120,000, and force them all to go to Armenia. This just happened before the October 7 attacks. And there was not much backlash about it, right? And not many people have spoken about it. I did on my channel. Unfortunately, very few people have spoken about it. I'm going to show you now. The title of this video was about because I saw one of the guys was saying, "Oh, another clickbaity title or something." No, this is the title of the video, and things develop in this live streaming stage by stage. I don't start the live streaming with the title of the video. I have to build the case so that we can go and speak about the title of this video. And it's my right to write an eye-catching clickbaity title because I want to maneuver through the algorithm so that I can get more views. I mean, that's my right? So Lost War says against Hamas, Netanyahu to be ousted, former Israeli chief. Former Chief of General Staff of the Israeli Occupation Army, Dan Halutz, said that Israel lost the war against Hamas, stressing that the only victory to be achieved is the overthrow of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Israeli Channel 14 correspondent Yishai Friedman released a recording of his conversation with Halutz in Haifa with anti-government protest activists, which took place during the war. In the conversation, Halutz stated, this is the exact statement, let's highlight it. There will be no image of victory because the image reflects the loss of 1,300 lives and 240 prisoners, despite their return and approximately 200,000 refugees who failed to return to their homes. Halutz continued by expressing, for me, the picture of victory will be when Prime Minister Netanyahu steps down. Yeah, there is a big opposition now to Netanyahu, but I don't think they will be able to oust him now in the middle of this conflict. A few days ago, Israeli newspaper Yedaot Ahronot suggested that reports of the Israeli army expanding its ground incursion into the Gaza Strip signify two things, with the most notable being its inability to secure a victory thus far. It is worth noting that the Israeli army's death toll since the start of the Operation Al-Aqsa flood has reached 491. So the IDF soldiers who got killed in this conflict since October 7 are 491. Additionally, the number of casualties since the initiation of the ground operation has reached 158, as reported by Israeli. So it's around 500, like 660 soldiers, probably. Yeah, since October 7. It's a big number, actually. So Israel lost 660 soldiers. Wow, that's a big number. And we don't know, I don't know if this is, it also includes the operations of Hezbollah in the north, because they're killing Israeli soldiers also almost every day. However, it is acknowledged that the actual death toll is considered higher, as evidenced by Israeli scenes broadcast by Palestinian resistance media. This underscores the substantial extent of losses incurred by the Israeli occupation. So, I don't know if I have to call this a failure yet for Israel, because the declared goal, they have stages of their operations. Did they score a decisive victory against Hamas? No. Did they win against the Palestinians? I cannot call it a victory. However, they forcibly displaced hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from the north to the south. So if we put the map of Gaza in front of us, 2.2 million, if 1.1 million people were living in the north, most of them are displaced now to the south. So you have 2.2 million people are stuck in the south and in a very small area. I will check if I can show you a map actually here. Let me see if this map is good for us to understand what's happening in the Gaza Strip. I'm not sure about it. Let's see. Yeah. So those are the areas. I think these blue areas are the ones that are occupied now by Israel, and most of the people are here and here now. So we have a big portion of the Palestinians are already displaced. And there were, of course, battles happening by Hamas here in the Gaza city. And they are also in all the areas, in Khan Yunis, in the Gaza city, etc. This is the Rafah border crossing. This is where they want for the Palestinians to live. Anyways, do I call this a victory for Israel? No. Do I call it a victory for Hamas? Of course not. The only thing that I want to focus here is the humanitarian aspect, and that is most of the people are homeless, right? Probably 50% of them are homeless, and they don't know where to go. And this is going to be a huge humanitarian catastrophe if you put this map in front of you and see like 2.2 million people are living all here in this area now. And many of them are getting killed. I really don't know what to say. I don't think it's a victory. I don't think it's a I don't want to say that Israel lost it. I don't sell illusions, because if they manage to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip and force them to go to the Sinai, it's not a victory for the Palestinians if that happens, right? The victory for the Palestinians is if they stay in Gaza, and if they insist on staying in Gaza, and if they continue living in the Gaza Strip and creating a two-state solution and a Palestinian state. That would be the victory. Otherwise, every other thing, kicking them out to Sinai, taking them to Europe, it's a failure. It's a loss. This is just my opinion about these things. I will show you, this is, of course, a radical approach by Alexander Dugin. I do not agree with everything Alexander Dugin says. However, this is a radical approach that he believes in. I don't know, what do you think about this? The big war will come, he says, to the Middle East. Maybe a bit later, but it will. Houthis will not stop. Ships will not enter any more Red Sea. The oil prices will go up. Iran will respond provocations. Collapse of Israel is inevitable. Call it as you wish. We call it end time agenda. Apocalypse. Apocalypse it is now. Right now or a bit later. Maybe not yet, but soon. I don't know. Will war come to the Middle East? What do you think about that, guys? If you are watching from your homes and you're following this case, do you think that this will escalate? This will lead into a direct clash between Arabic armies and Israel? And if that happens, will Iran intervene? Will the United States intervene? This is a scenario of, I would say, a global war, not a regional war, right? I agree with Alexander Dugin. Yes, a likely scenario of many. So some people agree with him. I don't know. And I don't know what is going to be the outcome of such war, especially that you are going to be clashed with nuclear power, right? Israel is a nuclear state. They have nuclear weapons, over 200 warheads. However, I just want to tell you that I do not wish for more people to die. I do not wish that people lose their homes, whether they're Jewish people, whether they are Christians, whether they are Muslims. I really don't want, seriously, I really don't want for such big war. I really hope that this would be solved, and there would be peace between them. And a two-state solution, and then probably one-state solution. But it seems that there are really hardcore elements in Israel that they don't want to do that at all. Dugin is 100% correct, and apocalypse guys always get it wrong unless they want to have all their people exterminated, so that's not an option. People are agreeing or disagreeing with Alexander Dugin. Anyways, I just I'm checking what I still have here in my agenda. I think this is all for today. I wanted to speak about a little bit about the Indian. Today there was a Indian Russian meeting, and they have striked big economic deals. I think India was under immense pressure in the past 2 years, especially after the Russian incursion into Ukraine, and they were blackmailing India, persuading India to become anti-Russian, impose sanctions, and not to deal with Russia. But India was one of the benefactors of the Ukraine war. They started buying oil and gas from Russia with cheap prices, and they improved their position. And now Russia is probably paying them back favors, and they're striking new economic deals with them. And they're all speaking about a multipolar world together. And this was one of the tweets that was made by an Indian professor today, Zoravar. Zoravar, I thought it's also an Armenian name, Zoravar. He says, along with broadening economic cooperation, this is also about multipolarity. America, China, Eurasian balance of power, renewing connectivity, rebalancing globalization, military technical cooperation, oil and nuclear energy, and ensuring that the subcontinent never becomes a Sino-American sphere. Some of the reasons why this will always be an exceptional relationship. I really don't know. I wanted to host him, but he was he had a trip, so he couldn't join on Syriana Analysis. I wanted to focus on this case today a little bit. But maybe tomorrow, maybe after tomorrow, let's see. It's vacation, holidays, people are not really available. But I will try to make another live streaming tomorrow. It's the 28th. Yeah, I think I will do on the 28th and the 29th as well. And then I will take 2-3 days holidays for myself and for my family. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you are, wherever you are watching, you have now 300 people. Please hit the like button before you leave this live stream. It's a really great help for me when you do that, because it helps this video go to the suggestion list of YouTube, recommendation list. Also, it appears on the timeline of the people who subscribe, but they cannot see these videos. And if you want to support my work financially, you can become a patron. The link is already now scrolling on the screen, www.patreon.com/Syriana Analysis. It is $2 to become a patron. It's a great help for me to sustain in this jungle and stay independent, because were it not for independent journalists, we cannot bring the truth to and show it to the people. If you want to go and work with any mainstream media or even alternative media outlets nowadays, they have editorial lines and they force you to speak what they want you to speak. If you stay independent, this channel is independent and it will stay independent. I will not accept to become a tool for anyone. Sponsorships are welcomed, but they don't have a say over what I'm going to say on this channel. But until then, you can yourself support this channel, and we will see you tomorrow. Salam.